Hello and welcome. I'm Jessica Woods, Energy Intuitive, and today I want to talk about evil spirits. I want to put something in perspective. I was contacted by a client recently who had said that they purchased this very old witch's box, and it was an antique box that they'd found on, I believe, at some market, and it was known to have been owned by a witch. And since this box had come into my client's house, they've been having problems. They've been having problems with things that go bump in the night, let's just say. They felt they were being watched. There was a case where the husband was walking down the stairs, and then there was this huge bang. The whole house heard it. It felt like it rocked, apparently. And part of their cleaner had flown across the room, or something to that effect. And my client was very worried and was wondering what was going on. Was there a connection? Was there a connection to this box coming into the house? So I tuned into that and picked up, first of all, that the box was very male orientated, and that in fact it had been the details I picked up was that it had been a man who had used the box, and I believe he was a doctor of some description, had had little vials of medicine and things in it. And so it's very male orientated. The client felt that it was a male energy that had been watching them. So I think maybe there was a connection there. But also, I did pick up that there had been, that box had been passed on to somebody else, and that it had been used. And then I kind of sensed that it was a female energy. And so basically, I could feel that this female was really, really angry. And so whatever had happened to her, I didn't see all the details, but whatever had happened to her in her life, she was kind of stuck, like we become stuck in that reality. We're in this reality, and when someone passes over, they take with them all that energy, all that knowing, all that what has happened in their life experience. So, in our frequency, if, for example, I am angry, I am resonating that in my frequency. And when something becomes very traumatic or painful in our lives, we carry that energy, and our soul also will enable us to come back into life experiences so that we can we choose to release that energy, to have different experiences where anger can be released. Anyway, the point is that we, regardless of whether we're a spirit and we are what people call doing evil things, throwing hoovers around, we've all had that experience where we felt somebody watching us, perhaps, or we've gone into a property or a building and, it's got that ghostly kind of feel. You feel like being watched, or, perhaps things have moved, or you've lost pieces of personal belongings that have gone missing. And these are all associated with spirits who are perhaps, walking the earth plane, as we call it. But in reality, when I tuned into this woman, she was really angry. She'd been very hurt through many lifetimes, particularly in her last lifetime. So she came in and she was using, let's say, witchcraft, black magic, to kind of wrong some of the rights that she had experienced in previous lifetimes, not just the current lifetime. So when I spoke to her, let's call it spoke, I wanted to let her know that she was loved. And this is the bit that I feel is really important for all of us to think about, because think of someone or someone that we call evil, someone who's done bad things. And what we want to do is lock them up. And, in the past, we've hung them, killed them. On the witchy front, we've dunked them, burnt them in fire. And it doesn't matter. We just want to get rid, don't we? We want to lock them up in jail, take them out of society. They're bad people, do bad things. But ultimately, one of the things that I have realized is that people that do bad things, and I'm sure you're all aware of this, is because they're not feeling loved. There have been many, many studies that have taken place where people have literally studied people killers, and they have realized that they usually come from backgrounds where they've been abused or certainly unloved, never had any form of affection, cuddles, and basically they're just poor souls who are neglected or abused or both. So what the point is, that people come to this world and with the best intentions maybe, and they end up doing bad things or being treated badly themselves. And then this is why we see so much kind of evil in our world, really, is because we're trying to put right something that we feel is an injustice, something that we're lacking and we're looking for. And these patterns, I mean, I won't go into the psychology of all of that, but these patterns that we create form behaviors, obviously, than what we do. But in the case of this witch lady, if you want to call her that, that I tapped into, when you speak to people, this is what I guess a lot of other people would do that do house visits or ghost visits, as they call them, clear energy of houses, perhaps feng shui. What we're doing is, from a frequency point of view, we're just connecting with that. We're honoring them where they are for the person that they are, beyond the illusion of all the bad stuff that's been going on in the world. And then when we do that, we can lift spirits back to where they belong, back to the pureness where they feel loved, and return to the frequency that they belong to, that spiritual realm. So they get stuck here in between these realms. So they pass over, and they can't return, let's just say, to the spiritual world, the astral planes, where there is, say, love and light, as we would like to think of it, where heaven exists, where all beings are one and support each other. And that's what we're trying to achieve here. And that's part of the purpose why we come in, is to know ourselves and to experience ourselves in all these different ways. So these souls, this lady that got trapped, would then cause chaos in my client's home. So I've gently connected with her, and she is now returned to that spirit world, the astral world, because her frequency is higher, because she's returned to love. And we can only go back to these higher frequencies of who we truly are when we start to really love. So this is why it's so important for us to love people that do bad things. We don't condone the behavior, and there are very many ways that I hope will come into society as we start to unite more, as we start to come together more, where we are able to look at that person and realize it's not that it's a bad person doing bad things, it's a good person doing bad things because they need to reconnect or remember who they truly are. And then when, like all of us that return into the spirit world, we are not trapped in what we call realms or worlds where we're not able to connect with our soul and see ourselves as what we truly are. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you because I think it's a really good way of starting to look at that. If we consider evil and spirits as bad, we can address them ourselves by just connecting with them, sending them love, and then seeing them move into the light. And that's basically what I do. I see them transforming, loving them, holding them in that loving space. We're very powerful beings. We know this. The more we love, the more things get uplifted, the more that we can share with each other in positive, really fruitful ways. So I hope this has been helpful to listen to this, but just love, send love into rather than be frightened by spirits, because this is what people do, we get frightened. There is nothing to be frightened of. They cannot literally harm you. They're not in this reality. Yes, they can throw things around. Really nasty spirits can stay lodged and attached to boxes and to items. This is when you get clairvoyants and psychics who pick up on, will read messages from jewelry. They're picking up on the frequency. This is what we're doing. So it's no different. And then when we offer love, then we can transform, we can empower that soul to move on. So don't be afraid. It's fear. When we focus on the fear, when you focus on fear, it activates and calls them. Remember that energy, that frequency, what we give out, we get back. So anyway, I hope this has made sense. And remember, there's no fear. And particularly at this time of year, because we're coming up for Halloween, and this can be a time of spooky witches and ghouls and all that sort of stuff. But it's actually meant to be a fun time. And there are other connotations around it. I'm not going to go into those right now. But just remember that love conquers all. Thank you for listening.